Let me ask you this, because so I've got a 2-year-old boy. We were talking a little bit before. My wife is due in like 2 weeks. Okay, so I think, and this is just me almost guessing. I feel like my capacity to deal with anything close to this level of, I'm going to call it a headache, right? Hairy deals, right? I feel like it's going to get reduced and reduced and reduced. That being said, you have 5 daughters and a wife and this brokerage and these 400 people that sort of look up to you. You talked about you driving the culture and, everything that comes along with that. And yet here you are sort of taking on these very complicated, hairy deals. Um, how do you navigate the pressures that come with that? And then you walk in your door and now you have to be a dad and now you have to run the show there.
Well, it's interesting. Before I had my first child, going back, kind of started a company, and then then I find out I'm pregnant. I'm going, it's probably when everyone finds out they're having a kid for the first time, they go,
Yeah.
is this real?
Especially for the father. It's like,
Yeah.
wait,
It's
what?
like, wait, what? And your whole life changes. But, the birth of the child is kind of the opposite of what I think people expect. All of that pressure and stress kind of goes away because your life now has purpose, at least for me, right? Before having a child, you're selfish. I mean, people only, and I don't mean that everyone is,
Yeah.
you're living for yourself and figuring out yourself. I mean, even marriage, it's a step in that direction, but we're married today. Maybe we're not married tomorrow, right? You're always my child for the rest of time. Right. And for me, having that child actually framed everything where I was stressing about all this stuff. And why am I stressing? For my ego, for money, for, I don't know, no real reason. All of a sudden I have a kid and the focus is why I'm doing all the things that I'm doing. So that was kind of at the very beginning to me. It gives you motivation. And like today, no matter what my day's like, the best, medicine I can have is to go home to my 5 and 7-year-old and be like, Daddy, oh, let's get
Wow,
together and hang
man.
out.
So you
So
you see
it's
them as like your little superpower. You use
for
them,
sure.
as that, hey, I don't care what I have to deal with. Like if it's right, it's right. If it's a good deal, it's a good
Well, I
deal.
think it's part of it. I think, another part of it was, people call things, and I'm great, so don't misread what I'm saying, but like they call it a midlife crisis for a reason, right? All of a sudden, you're at a point where you have pressure from every aspect. It's like peak pressure in life, from kids to work to relationship to aging parents to all sorts of things that are going on all at one point in time, and it crushes people. And for me, probably where I was in my hardest moments was when my dad got sick, and he had a double lung transplant. He was sick for 6 years, leading up to it. And I'm sitting in Emory Hospital because that's where I got the transplant. And I remember it's like a very, very challenging time in my life. And you're trying to frame it. And I do, I wouldn't say a lot of reading, but I love historical stuff. It just gives you context because, we're not the first person to go through challenging things.
Yep.
And I came across a Theodore Roosevelt quote that it's not well known. It's not the man in the arena or one of these like things that everybody knows. It was a 1904 World Fair. And it was, the gist of it. I'm not going to get it perfectly right. People can Google and look it up. But
David.
yeah, good luck. Yeah, but basically, life's greatest gift is hard work worth doing. To be bent by too great a load is bad. To be broken by it is lamentable. But even in that, the possibilities are glorious. But to
Mhm.
carry no burdens at all, there is nothing in that. And I think that helped frame like all these things in my life, whether it's, and not like, dealing with some real estate, some big complicated
Sure.
existential thing. You know, we're not saving the world here, but, it's such a privilege for me to have all of this responsibility. Uh, in dealing with a lot of the things in the projects, it's not just about making money and winning. It's about improving the neighborhood and the area. It's kind of, there's so much to do and things don't just happen by themselves. You are the community you create. And I found myself, I don't know how, not being from here, not being, from a fluent background, just kind of all of a sudden in a place where I can make a difference on all sorts of things. I have the privilege of being,
Mm.
involved in all of these things. And yeah, it's hard. There's no doubt about it, but to carry no burdens, there's nothing in that. And so, for me, it's allowed me to detach at some level from all of these things and just kind of focus on the work, kind of step by step, bite by bite. It's like, the
Wow.
old how to eat an elephant one bite at a time.
Yeah.
I try not to think about what I'm doing, and all the things that are going on. I think about what I'm doing today.
And if you were to pull, I think if any human being was to write down all of the different things they do, even someone like your father who worked a steady job for 30 years, even if he laid down, I have a wife, I have these children to take care of, I have the responsibility and the burdens of being, the money maker in the family. Like any human being that looked at their life in a sort of anxious way, yeah, it's going to make you feel probably pretty crazy and probably super nerve-wracking to lay it all out like that. But to have none of it is a meaningless life.
I mean, you flip it. I mean, like, let's just say you had none of those things and
None
you
of those
sat in
things.
virtual reality and had no purpose. I mean,
Yeah.
I think that's, some of the most depressed people I know have more money than they know what to do with, and they have no definition of who they are or what they're doing or why they're doing. They live in the shadow of somebody else, and they have no identity, and they're empty. It's like, that's not the way to live life. It's the way to live life in my mind is to find these things that challenge you. And it doesn't have to be, big projects and
Yeah.
this big existential stuff. I mean, just day-to-day life is hard enough.
Right.
Getting up and, it's really what most of my family's been, having both parents work and struggling to figure out how they're going to, do this or do that. Vacations, like piling in the minivan and driving to the beach. I mean, there's a lot of courage and strength in that. There's a lot of burdens that are be carried in that. And that's where I think framing it, it's like, Dabo Sweeney, pressure is a privilege. It is suffering is sacred. These are some terms, these aren't my terms, but these are things that have really resonated with me when you kind of think about the pressure, because if you don't frame it in that way, it can be a really, heavy burden. It can overwhelm you. And, what greater privilege, tying it back to kids, is it to be a father, to be able to influence these, people's lives, and hardest job you'll ever do.
That's for sure.
By a mile, 2 to 13, 2 to 12, those are the golden years for sure. Once they get older, then they're independent and, bigger problems. Before 2, it's physical labor
Yeah.
and sleeplessness. But, I'm a very family oriented person. I don't, I'm at my kids' games. I don't miss parent teacher conferences. I'm involved in their school. I coach coach flag football, which is fun, kind of get involved with. And,
Wow.
Cool. To carry no burdens, there's nothing in that.
Wow. David, pull that. Is that a book from Theodore Roosevelt? I'd love to read it, whatever it is. You said it was a speech at the World's Fair.
1904 World Fair.
I'll have to look that up. And pressure is a privilege is super interesting. You talk about a hard job too. I was my wife right now, obviously we're having that baby coming soon. So we're sort of getting the house around and getting the baby's room ready and moving our 2-year-old into his room and that whole thing. And I came into my house and my wife had all the newborn clothes from my 2-year-old that we had kept on the table. And then she had another like bunch of laundry on the dining room. And I looked at it and I thought, there's so much shit that I deal with that I don't even think about that she has to deal with. And it sort of put things in perspective for me. Like, whoa, like she's freaking working just as hard as I am, but it's in a different way. And then we have the same goal, right? We're like supporting our family. And it made me realize, holy shit, this is a big fat team effort. I mean, I knew that, but walking in and seeing her physical effort right there on the table hit home for me. I was like, wow.
I always love when people ask me, does your wife work? Yeah, she does.
Big time.
She sure does.
Big time.
We're a high performing family.
You have to be, right?
Just the logistics of getting people everywhere. And you say laundry never stops in my house. I mean, just constant.
I got one with 5. I can't imagine.
Yeah. I mean, think about going out to dinner, it's like parties of 6 or more. You got to like call the group reservation line.
Oh, shit.
And we have 7. I mean, anytime you want to
got that on speed dial.
Get in the car. I mean, it's like all these things that makes your life, more challenging but fulfilled. But my wife deals with all those things in a big way. And no, that goes back to like life is about being productive. It's about having purpose. It's about raising kids or doing hard things. It's not about sitting around doing nothing.
Yeah.
Sitting on a boat staring. I mean, I like to do fun things too, but that's not what I spend most of my time doing.
Hey guys, if you want to watch the full episode of this clip, click right here. Make sure to subscribe by clicking right here. Thank you for watching.